Welcome back to the Tech Shack to another low quality video. Now I was going to do a different video today, but the weather outside is terrible, so that ruined today's video idea. But we are coming on 5 months since I converted this guy from Windows 11 to Linux and Ubuntu Studio. So I decided to kind of update how that's going. I will say, as you will see, I'm remoted in to my Windows server, and I am currently making a Windows 11 Pro flash drive. So let's get into it. Alright, it's about 5 months since I made the switch from Windows 11 over to Linux, so I thought I'd do an updated video, and I thought I'd actually kind of explain how things went, how things are going, and touch on why I chose Ubuntu Studio, because I don't think I really mentioned that much in the original video. Now, Ubuntu Studio is an official flavor of Ubuntu. It uses the KDE environment. It is a workstation distro. It is optimized for content creators for audio and video recording. It is the creator's distro. Now, that being said, I do not identify as a content creator. I am a managed services provider, IT contractor, computer repair guy who also does home labbing and videos some of his projects. Okay, so I am not a content creator. Let's get that out of the way. But this is the content creator's distro. It has kernel level optimizations, and it includes all the software that you would need for audio and video creation. And again, it has KDE as its desktop environment. Now, I have ran Linux in some form, in some flavor, on some device since 2004 in the Mepis distro, but this is the first time my main workstation has been exclusively Linux, and I haven't dual booted it. So Ubuntu Studio, being essentially Kubuntu but optimized for my workflow, was just a perfect fit. Now, in regards to software, everything I said in my original video for the most part is still true. It's still the software I'm running. Remia is still, or Remia, however you pronounce it, is still one of the best RDP clients I've ever used on Windows or Linux. It just gives you such granular control. I control both of my headless servers, the one in the house and the one in the shop. From here with that, I absolutely love it. Again, I've always used GIMP. The default video editing software that comes in here is Kdenlive. I use Shotcut, so I did have to install that separately. Audacity came pre-installed. OpenRGB was one I had to go install. Discord was another one I had to get installed. And when we start talking about Flatpacks and stuff, we'll touch on Discord again. The only thing I wouldn't recommend from my original video where I talked was WPS Office. See, at the time I was running the 2019 version that was in the Ubuntu repositories. That was a great Microsoft Office clone. It was fantastic. The problem is they have continued that trend of cloning Microsoft to the point where the newest one, they paywalled everything. Originally, they first started just paywalling like the PDF Pro stuff. I don't necessarily have a problem with because I have other third-party software that I use for like detailed PDF editing and creation. But then they basically moved everything behind the paywall to just a glorified document viewer unless you pay for it, and then it's a subscription based. They basically tried to create the great value, discount version of Office 365 with all the AI bloatware that you don't want anyway. So I have moved to OnlyOffice. Now, when you download OnlyOffice, especially on Windows, if you're not getting it from a repository or from like your app store or your package manager, if you go to their website, their main product that they're pushing, the OnlyOffice, is actually their server. So you could self-host essentially your own Office 365 or Google Docs alternative on your network. So you just open up the web browser and literally load it right off your web server, and you have your own little Office 365 clone. A Google Docs clone. So that's not what you want to download if you're trying to download it on the client level. You're looking for the desktop version on their website. So just keep that in mind if you go looking around the OnlyOffice website. They have their web server, and then they have their desktop client, and their web server is actually the primary product that they're directing people to. Primarily, the one program that held me back for years was QuickBooks, but since I've gone to QuickBooks Cloud or QuickBooks Online primarily so I can invoice directly from my phone. Yes, I know there's other like invoice options, but as an MSP, an IT contractor, I'm doing like large network rollouts. So a lot of times I have sent invoices that are $30,000, $40,000, and QuickBooks and Intuit, specifically Intuit processing services will process that no problem. When you start looking at things like FreshBooks and a lot of other things that you see like the big YouTubers like recommend to people like me, that's fine if you're just doing like residential repair or a couple $100, even a couple $1,000 service calls. When you start getting into 5-6 figures, you need something like QuickBooks and Intuit to process those payments. My help desk ticketing system, that is a web-based app. Now they do have a desktop app, but going to the web's only version, I'm not giving up anything. I'm not losing any features. I can remote into clients. I can answer help desk tickets. None of that changed. Office 365, I could use the web portal version and use the web apps, but since I'm not running Windows on this computer, and the main reason of having the Office 365 subscription was each email address came with 5 licenses for 5 Windows devices to run the full Office 365 suite. I don't need that anymore. So I actually migrated my business email over to Zoho Webmail from Office 365. So all my business software works. And now that we're on the subject of business software, let's talk about Ubuntu and Snaps. Yes, any official flavor of Ubuntu, not the forked distros, but the official Ubuntu flavors are going to rely heavily on Snaps or come pre-installed with most of their applications through Snaps. However, with the Discover Package Manager, I can add the repositories so I can install Snaps, .deb packages, and Flatpak all from the same app store. When I search it for a program, I have all the repositories added, so all 3 options will show up. Now, with .deb versions, I tried that with Discord, and the issue I was having with Discord was it couldn't auto update like the Flatpak and the Snap versions can. So every time they pushed out a major update, I got greeted with this screen telling me I basically had to re-download the program every single time they pushed out a big update, which sometimes could be once a week. Alright, so because of that, I went to the Flatpak version. Now, if you're running KDE and Flatpaks, I highly recommend a program called Flatseal. Now, Flatseal will allow you to reset and change the permissions with Flatpak apps. So if you're like me and KDE comes up with a notification that Discord is running in the background and you accidentally clicked the wrong thing and you've blocked it and now the app automatically closes as soon as it opens, you'll have a tool to go in and just reset that right back to default settings and actually launch the app properly again. One issue I had in the original video was with network shares, specifically Dolphin not wanting to mount the shares and crashing every time I tried to connect to my Windows server. And actually that was solved by going backwards, not forwards. I'm going to talk about that in a minute. Because another issue I had was suddenly Steam just broke. I was in the middle of playing a game, the game crashed, and then it just, every time I loaded it, it told me I didn't have a DirectX compatible device. If I forced the game into Vulkan, even in Windows with the Proton layer, it would work. Any of the Linux native apps that use Vulkan or OpenGL work. So it's just like a Direct3D translation layer that got broken. But with my servers automatically backing up my systems, a lot of times, while I can manually fix things, it's easier, especially when you're talking about hundreds and hundreds of gigabytes for games, having to re-download, try things, have it not work, having to reinstall them. It's easier just to do a clean install of the operating system to a state that you know works and start over again. So when I had this opportunity to reinstall my distro from scratch, I decided to give PopOs a try because I really liked the way Cosmic looked. I'd been playing around with it on my laptop. I liked the way it looked, I liked the way it felt, but it was absolutely horrible experience. I was going to do a dedicated video on it, but it would have just been like a 2-minute rant. So I created a little Jordo's rant section on the Tech Shack website, jordoshack.tech, and it'll go over all the issues I had with them. They're pretty much the same thing that if you watch like the LTT videos with Linus trying it, I had almost those exact same issues. And then the straw that broke the camel's back, so to speak, was this.
Holy moly. Yeah, like 40
Ah,
hours.
it fucking did that glitch thing again. Thank you, Linux. This thing. I'm gonna have to quit. Yeah, I'm gonna have to quit now. Only PopOs did this. Ubuntu Studio didn't. Ubuntu Studio. Screen, it doesn't look like it is. Oh, thank you. Better.
Gotta make something to eat.
No, it went full screen and then crashed again. Fuck. Went back to this bullshit.
Linux giveaway. Go.
Oh, now it's loading Rockstar on the wrong monitor. There we go. Now it loaded the full screen. Third time. Oh, you fucking thing. Did it again. Because I loaded the controller after the game booted. So after like 4 restarts, I finally got the game to play properly. We finished the game, but the very next day, I got rid of PopOs, and I went back to Ubuntu Studio, this time backwards to the LTS version. And when I did that, everything works. Gaming performance was the same. Again, most Linux distros are going to have within 1 to 2% gaming performance. Alright, initially, like in Bazite's early days, they did do game-specific optimizations and tried to tweak things themselves, but what they found is while it increased performance on some devices, it would absolutely tank performance on others, so they just went to the normal like rolling updates like Fedora has. All my network share issues with Dolphin, as I said, went away completely. Like every issue I had went away completely when I went to an LTS build, and I knew when I first installed it, being a workstation, I probably should have stuck with that, but then when I wanted to game and I wanted to have a newer kernel, but no, Ubuntu Studio, the LTS version, games just as well as the newest version. Everything just works a little bit better, and I have longer support. So yeah, everything gaming wise works as good as Windows does. Had my entire workflow was already transitioned over. A lot of what I did, at least almost everything I did for the channel for content creation, was with free open source software that were Linux native apps already. So it just became like what I needed to get over for the business side. And again, once QuickBooks went online, most of my issues with running this as a daily driver for my business kind of went away. So Ubuntu Studio is here to stay on this machine, but if you'll excuse me, I have to grab that USB that finished in that server for Windows 11 and get that installed on this beast behind me. But that's it for this low quality video. I will see you guys in the next one. A little behind the scenes. When you see me glancing over to the side a lot when I do these talking head videos, it's because my monitor's off to the side and I don't script anything. I will give myself like bullet points and I will kind of rehearse everything in my head a dozen times or so, but nothing gets scripted, and when it does, I tend to feed it in to the green machine. When I do have scripted stuff, I feed it into the green machine here. I'm not logged in this browser. I can switch, but I'm not going to show too much of my magic here. But normally, when you hear Rob, I'll let him introduce himself here.
Hey there, I am Rob, Jordo's self-hosted AI. Jordo writes everything he feeds me himself, but I am just better at the single-take reads. If there is a redo, that is because Jordo fat-fingered something, which happens a lot, actually. Most people take meds to silence the voices in their head. Old Jordo here makes them audible to the rest of the world.
He runs completely self-hosted on the green machine with a pair of NVIDIA P102s. So when I have long explanations, especially when I'm doing product reviews that are samples and I want to make sure I get all the technical information correctly, I do take my product reviews way more seriously than this type of stuff. But when I do the product reviews, I want to make sure I get everything correct, but I don't have time to sit here and correct myself 20 times. So I'll write out a script, proofread it a dozen times, and then I feed that into Rob, so then I know none of the model numbers get screwed up. Especially in my last TP-Link video where I had 5 devices they sent me with different product numbers, different feature stacks I had to remember. It was easier to do each write-up for each device and then feed that into Rob. And honestly, Rob, even being an AI, sometimes his voice is clearer than mine and has better inflection than I do. It sounds a little bit more natural than I do most of the time. So when it's unscripted, off the cuff, it's me. When it is completely scripted, I have a lot of details, a lot of facts, a lot of stuff I want to make sure get into the video. Then I feed that into Rob and let him do his thing. And I will not confirm or deny who I trained his voice on, so don't ask. But that is it for this low quality behind the scenes clip.